Welcome everybody to the Grynd Life podcast. My name is Don Martin, and I'm excited today to bring you another episode of the Masterminding Show, where we get together with entrepreneurs or thought leaders or different people who have different influence across a multitude of different industries. And today we have one of those gentlemen here in my hometown of Lower Bucks, Pennsylvania, that has become a good friend, mostly through social media, but we knew a lot of the same people when we grew up. And I'm excited to be here with Mr. Erik Purcell, founder of NPR. And thanks for being here, bro.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you.
You got it. You're welcome. So, Erik, tell the audience, we have audience here that's not only all across America, but also some international audience. So, both with YouTube and the podcast here, let them know a little bit about yourself, where you were born and raised, and kind of some of maybe the influences that kind of started to form you as you got a little older.
Yeah, sure. So, my name's Erik Purcell. So, I own NPR Endurance. Pretty large mixed martial arts, self-defense training academy right here in Lower Bucks County. We have a lot of fun, a lot of great fighters, athletes here, local people in the community, everyone coming here just to better their lives and train and have some fun. But originally I'm from Stuart, Florida.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm a Florida boy.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a Floridian.
Floridian?
Yeah, there you
Original.
go.
When did you move to out of Florida?
So a lot of my mother's side of the family lives in Florida.
Okay.
Like right now, currently. So I was there a little while when I was first born, but then we kind of started moving all over the place. I've lived in like South Carolina, New Orleans, Delaware. I've lived in Colorado, Jersey for a little bit, back and forth from Delaware to South Carolina a couple times, and everything like that as well. So moving around a lot was great. Really. As an adult, I'm a firm believer that everyone needs to get outside of the bubble.
Sure. And
see what's going on, develop some life experience, meet some different people, see different parts of not only the country, different states, but the world in general as well. So a lot of my life experience is moving, kind of constantly moving, actually really helped me down the road as an adult and businessman and things like that as well. You know, you learn how to adapt. Number one,
right?
And you learn how to, make new friends and build relationships and things like that with people.
A lot of times quickly too.
Very quickly. Yeah. Very quickly. Yeah. So
what was it that caused you to move so much? What was the career paths of your parents?
So my childhood was pretty tumultuous, actually. My father was in the Coast Guard for a little bit, so we moved kind of for that as well. But we also had family in Delaware, and we had family. So like my father's side of the family was in Delaware.
Right.
My mother's side was in Florida. And so we were kind of ping-ponging around like a little bit. And then, so growing up, things were very tough.
Sure.
Tougher than like a lot of people's childhoods and stuff like that. But definitely one of those things where now as an adult, I look back on, and those are all the things that help make you tougher, And those are things that moving around and doing all this other stuff, things that I wouldn't change a second of it.
One of the things that you wouldn't plan so much to want to have to do, but because you went through it and the lessons and the character that's built through that process, it's one of those things where you and I are similar with our kids. We want them to have the best life, want to provide the best life, but at the same time, we want to make sure that they get punched in the mouth by life too, so they know how to handle it, But those lessons are a big deal. So as you went through there, what was your were you in the wrestling, fighting kind of world when you were a kid? Organized anyway?
No, I wish. Yeah. Well, yeah. So here's the deal. So I don't know, kind of starting when I lived in Delaware. I don't know what it was. I was a quieter kid, smaller. I had to fight a lot. Yeah. So I kind of went from right around when I was living near Dover, Magnolia. I was living in a trailer park. Fighting every day.
People don't know it's a hard area. I have real estate down there, and my uncle has a property in Kent County. Yeah. And it's a tough town. A lot of people don't realize it. Yeah.
And so there's when I started kind of having to fight every day, stick up for myself and things like that. And then when I moved to South Carolina, that kind of continued on. So when I lived for most of my life, I was kind of raised by my father. Me and my mother have a great relationship now, but she wasn't in the picture for me really as a kid. So we moved down to South Carolina, and then it was like all hell was breaking loose down there. Things were crazy. I had to defend myself. We grew up in some rough parts of like North Charleston, which is a little pretty rough part of town. And so I grew up there, and I never started a fight in my life, but I always kind of found myself in fights and those kind of situations. So I always wanted to get in karate as a kid and stuff like that, but I always played recreational sports, football, baseball, everything like that, which, you know, did pretty well. And once I got into wrestling in 9th grade, the best thing that ever happened to me was back when the Chamonix Junior used to be middle school around here. I was a new kid. It was my first year up here. I just moved from Trenton.
By the way, that's the only thing I say is a problem with you. Is that you went to the Chamonix? Yeah, I was a Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah.
It's one of them things. For those of you all don't know, it's just like kind of a big rivalry, and especially in wrestling.
And that doesn't stop here, because of Chuck and everyone else over here. We're constantly ribbing each other. It's nonstop. So when I was a kid in South Carolina, I was playing like a lot of basketball. So when we moved up here, I wanted to join the basketball team. So I'm the new kid around and go into the middle school and want to join basketball, and they basically took a look at me and, oh, you don't have your physical, nah, you can't try out. So they wouldn't even let me try out for the team. So I walked into the wrestling room and I proceeded. 9th grade. Right. Because I was already staying after school. Proceeded to get my ass kicked. Like I've never had my ass kicked. I never lost a fight as a kid. I walk into the wrestling room and then I'm just getting punked and beat up. I'm getting controlled like I've never been controlled. So I go home and my dad's like, oh, how was basketball? And my dad was actually a very good wrestler, really good wrestler. And so I was like, no, sorry, Dad. Yeah, they wouldn't let me try out for the team, but I went into the wrestling room and, you know, perks up and ran out, bought me wrestling shoes, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm wrestling.
Yes, wrestling.
So, and then I went
after
back.
You got your butt kicked, right?
Yeah, after I got ass kicked, like tail between my legs. But I got my ass kicked bad enough that I said I had to go back and redeem myself. It was that bad.
Okay, but because you have a competitive spirit, that's a big thing that I found. Two things that you said so far, I just want to highlight. One is a lot of people, the mass majority of people that have become successful through their business careers or you know, even, you know, climbing the corporate ladder, they all had some struggles. You know, I fought since I was 5 years old in Fairless Hills. You know what I mean? It was every single day. You know, when I was a kid, people don't know it doesn't happen anymore these days. But it was every single day. And I got my butt kicked. You know, I remember the first one ever beat me. Do you know like the Keens? Remember the Keens? All the Keens. So it's Brian, right? That first one, never beat me up. You know, and I had to, you know, learn how to fight back. You know, and at first I wasn't allowed. My dad was quiet. My mom was like, you don't hit people, you don't hit people, until I came home with a bloody nose. And then she was like, all right, do what you got to do. And I never lost a fight since. You know, it was one of the things. But and I, you know, she got me in karate and those type of things, so I knew how to at least have an idea to defend myself.
Yeah, you start getting in the mindset.
Right. And but those are lessons that people don't have. So I noticed that's one thing. People, when they have a rough childhood, they have some extra something behind them that helps them go through the challenges that people have to go through to become successful in business. And they're just like nothing new. Like, hey, this is how we survive. We just go through challenges and keep going. We don't quit. And the second thing is that when people have those type of tumultuous type of times where they're moving a lot, or they have those situations where they were shown that maybe they didn't have what they thought they had, but they have a competitive spirit to figure out what they need, how they can bridge that gap, you know? So that's pretty cool for you. So you started wrestling at that point in time. And then so what happened from there? So that's 9th grade. So you started late.
Real late. I got crushed the whole year. Ended up getting some matches. Was getting pinned. But so that summer, you know, I decided, all right, like let's hit it. I was hooked. Hooked. Even though I'm getting my ass kicked in 9th grade, I'm hooked. You know, because it's one-on-one. The one thing that I've never liked, or that it's not that I never liked, but what made me gravitate towards wrestling was it's one-on-one, and I can earn my spot to wrestle.
Right.
It's not up to a coach.
Right.
You know, because I was always a smaller guy and all this other stuff, you know,
a little chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But in wrestling, I could forge my own path, and no one could tell me no. No one could deny me if I was good enough.
Yeah. You have a wrestle off?
Yeah.
And you win your spot, right?
Exactly.
Just straightforward. Yeah.
Exactly. So that year, all I did was work out. I went to wrestling camps. While, you know, everyone else is out screwing around, I'm running every day. I'm doing, you know, thousands of sit-ups every day.
Yeah.
I'm just training my butt off. We're up in the Poconos, and I'm up there working out. Everyone else is screwing around. And so now we're in the high school, my sophomore year. Got on a JV spot, won a bunch of matches.
Nice.
Then junior year, I won the varsity spot off a varsity guy, and was varsity for, you know, my junior and senior year. And the only reason I didn't wrestle in college, I was going to go to art school, which didn't have, you know, wrestling programs.
Right.
So I was supposed to go to Parsons up in New York.
So what movie? So did you that was your wrestling career essentially?
Yes.
Okay. And what made so from there, and that's what you did, and you got pretty good.
We did good. Yeah, as an all-star in the first team, athlete, scholar athlete, and all that stuff, and missed states by one match.
Okay.
You know, which was my goal was to make states, so I was very upset that I didn't make it. But you know, I gave it everything I had at the time. I legitimately did. So.
Yeah. That's all. As long as you do, as long as you know you did that, that's the most important. So then, at that point in time, you went to school. Where did you find yourself back in the jiu-jitsu, mixed martial arts? Like, where did that come from? Since you were, because you were kind of done wrestling, where did that come from?
Yeah. So I literally was pretty much done wrestling. My last match I ever wrestled was an all-star match, and then I went right into Russian Sambo.
Okay.
So there was a place right off of Common in Frankfurt, Philly Sambo. Some of my friends were doing. So then I go in there, and it's basically wrestling, but with submissions. So I'm like, oh my God, cool, I get to like submit people. To me, it was like a step closer to fighting.
Right.
So then we're back in 1995 when this is going on.
Sure.
And so I was excited because I was really into, once again, that one-on-one, the highest level of, you know, of athleticism you can kind of get to, you know. So I started doing Sambo, and it was great. And then kind of on the drop of a dime, I moved out to Colorado for 2 years, where I really didn't do any martial arts. I just was mountain biking and doing things like that.
Sure.
But literally, as soon as I moved back, like the day I moved back, I started training again. And then that's when jiu-jitsu and everything else started.
Everything started to pop.
Yeah, well, we had, we were Sambo guys. We met some jiu-jitsu guys, and we started teaching them some Sambo. They were teaching us jiu-jitsu and guard and all this other stuff. And then there were no Sambo competitions around here, but jiu-jitsu competitions were popping up, so we started entering those. So I was doing black belt jiu-jitsu tournaments in like 2000, like 1999.
Wow.
And then
20 years ago, bro.
Yeah, which was a lot of fun.
Wow.
So my first jiu-jitsu tournament I ever went in was a black belt tournament, and I technically didn't even have a belt. I just wanted to go in and see what was going on. I ended up placing third.
Right.
So I was like, all right, maybe I'm onto something here, and you know, had some good matches and stuff, and then was just enjoying it. So I was doing that for a long time, and then eventually kind of started getting into fighting, and then everything was just leveling up from there, and new challenges and things like that.
So what led you to start NPR, or at least how did you get into running a business? Because obviously at that point in time, what were you doing for a living, by the way?
DJ.
Okay.
Yeah, so the DJ down in Philadelphia, which is crazy. So actually, for even a moment in time, I was gonna put an album out and do all this stuff. Well, I had music out anyways, but that was my dream for a while, right?
Okay.
And then at the time, I was going through a custody battle for my daughter.
Okay.
So we go into court a bunch of times, and the judge basically tells me, oh, hey, you know, if you have a full-time job, you can't have custody of your daughter. You know, you get to see her on the weekends.
Right.
So I told the judge, I said, all right, well, I quit my job.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean? I go, I just quit, just right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, yeah, I just quit.
Yeah.
And so basically what I told the judge is, I'm like, you'll see me every day until I get custody of my daughter. This is bullshit. Yeah. So I kind of realized, I'm like, all right, I'll never be able to go on tour. I'll never be able to do any of that music stuff. It's impossible. You know, I would just want to take care of my kid. So I'm like, what can I do right now that I know that I can be good at? And meanwhile, I wasn't training full time. I'm like, you know what? I'll become a professional fighter. So I scheduled a fight in Atlantic City, within 2 months, I dropped 50 pounds, and I'm standing in the House of Blues, locked in the cage for the first time with my hands up, like ready to go, and won that fight. And from there, it was kind of history. So
was that just like a mixed martial arts, full out, like a mixed martial arts?
Yep, full on fight. And the guy that I fought, he ended up in the UFC and everything like that. So I beat him, and then was fighting and doing all that for a while. But then I really started getting into coaching, and then I realized, I'm like, all right, the way for me to really kind of have a life doing this is owning a gym.
Sure.
And it was an easy transition for me, because really, while I enjoy fighting and I consider myself a good fighter and stuff like that, and coaching just seemed like a very natural progression for me to get into.
Sure.
And I still fight and compete. I'm on the USA Sambo team.
I see it. I mean, it's a pretty cool. I was watching track you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's really. I always like to keep on track of all the local guys, because I always tell people it's important to never forget where you come from. And to keep in touch with the people, because it's neat to see their progression in life. And you know, it's really neat to be able to help lift each other up and do things like this, and we can, you know, help each other promote and all the different things that we can do cross things like this. So it's awesome. One of the things I love to highlight, and you already mentioned it, I was going to ask you this, but you said it. The name of the podcast is Grynd Life, but we spell it with Y's. The reason is because I think people can live life just by getting by, and that's how you normally spell it, L-I-F-E, right? Life, right? Yeah. But people that have a why or a purpose behind their life, I spell it differently. I spell it with a Y, L-Y-F-E, because they have a why or a purpose to fuel their grind. And obviously, yours originally, which made you kind of get into the business world, was your daughter. You know? And I'm assuming that your kids are pretty much that still for you. You know, and then, but what has got you? Because now your kids are all, we talked about this earlier. They're in their teens now.
Pushing them out of the house.
They're slowly out of the house, giving you some freedom. What is your why now? What's your fuel to help you? You know, or that drives you? What's your purpose? What's your why in your grind in your life?
The people that come here. Now. You know, before myself, it was my story, my reason, and everything like that. You know, and obviously you want to have a nice life, and you want to have nice things, and you want to be able to continue your way of life and all these other things. So you grind for that, and you know, you work hard and all that stuff for that. You know, but really when you meet the people that come in here and you hear their stories individually, why certain people are here, and you want to see them successful, and you see them every day pushing it. And really, we have some advanced athletes come in right from the start, and it's strategy and things like that. But we have like a lot of people that come in with no training experience whatsoever, and you get to see them go through their trials and tribulations, and you see them challenge themselves and succeed and fail and succeed and fail, and you're a part of that, whether you want to be or not. You're totally a part of that. And so, if I'm not on my A game, they can't be on their A game. So it's that kind of the trickle down thing. So that's what kind of, you know, days when you're feeling like a little off and stuff like that, that's what kind of fuels you, because you have to be on for everyone else. You just have to be.
I mean, I love the same thing for me from an entrepreneurial standpoint. I deal with people every single day and coach them. I found myself in the same position, but from an economic position, especially in the last 4 months with the craziness of COVID, that people needed to find a way to bridge gaps where they couldn't. Some people just couldn't work. And you can't not be on your A game, because it's about the people that you serve. You know, that's really what it's all about. So at this point in time, Erik, how many members do you guys have here? How many people do you have that are currently enrolled?
Hundreds. You know, that number is like a little funky right now.
Yeah, I know. I mean, so you guys know that are listening, you might be, I don't know when you're listening to this or watching this, but we are, you know, 4 months into the COVID pandemic, and hopefully you're going to be like, oh, you guys were worried, and 1 month later it was over, but we don't know. It could be 5 months, a year. We don't know what's up. So it is a little weird. But you started small, by the way. So when you started, where did you start, by the way? When you first started the gym, we were there, and we kind of lost track of that. Where did you begin? Like, how did you begin your gym when you first started at PR?
So I was training out of a boxing gym at our first original location. It was a boxing gym.
Right.
And so I've got all these personal training clients I'm starting to get, and so I kind of developed a goal for myself. I'm like, all right, once I'm
doing... Is that
doing...
Fearless?
Yeah.
Okay, yep, I know the place.
So I'm teaching boxing, I'm teaching MMA, teaching self-defense, just general fitness, I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah.
Every client I could get, I'm snagging and having a lot of fun doing that as well.
Yeah.
And in my head, I'm like, all right, once I get, 30 clients per week, once I'm up to like 30 sessions, I can really start to look to make this a business. I think I'll have something, because I knew that when I first opened the business, I wouldn't have all these members, and I was still gonna have to train all of those people while I'm running classes as well, just to make ends meet. So we were able to do that. I basically took the boxing gym over, bought them out, started over at the 225 building where we were, and started this whole process. And at first, we had some growing pains. There were things that I was doing right, things I was doing wrong. So you're constantly reevaluating what you're doing. I was from a fighter mentality, so when we first opened, I was like, yeah, every night we're sparring, every night we're doing this and that, And then you realize, like, people don't want to come to class anymore, And people are like, what the hell? We don't want to do this every night.
Right.
So I started to realize, okay, yeah, let's dial this back. Let's get a little bit more of this. Let's do this. And this actually runs better this way.
Right.
People are actually learning more this way. And so, yeah, so you have some growing pains, and you have to get over those hurdles, and we're constantly doing that, even here. And we're kind of like a well-oiled machine now, but we're constantly reinventing ourselves and figure out more efficient ways to do things, more efficient ways to teach and things like that. So once we started kind of growing there, we really hit a point where we were just so busy in there that it was almost dangerous on the mats. The mats were so packed, we had no room. So our next option was kind of this place.
Yeah, and you evolved into that. One of the really interesting parts of this is it was never, you evolved without having the intention of it. It just kind of naturally progressed, and it wasn't something that was forced. You actually had the experience, which I love to hear, because a lot of times people create this vision, this idea, and just chase it. Yeah. But what's cool with you is that the business forced your hand versus you forcing the business hand, a lot of it. What do you think was the key to that? Because a lot of, for you, all experience is where people make most of their mistakes, but they learn all their lessons. No one can tell anybody how to start a mixed martial arts gym and then tell them everything they need to know and not have problems. They're always going to have problems, but that's how they learn. What do you think was some of the most important failures that you went through during that process, and maybe some of the successes that kind of helped shape you? What were some of the failures that you had?
Well, when we first opened, we had even the last gym, it wasn't like it was that small, it was a decent size, and we're running all these programs. We're open all day. Most martial arts gyms are only open for a couple hours, So there were plenty of hours I'm sitting there at my desk and the gym's just empty, and I'm thinking, holy shit.
What am I doing?
I'm totally gonna ruin this. Like, my wife's gonna fucking kill me, oh my God, So plenty of days like that. But what really started to happen was, just like I guess anything you're doing, you're constantly reevaluating yourself. So I had to constantly keep kind of looking at myself and thinking, all right, where am I making my mistakes? What could I do better? What's going on? And I think the problem a lot of martial arts gyms have is there's a lot of ego with them. And granted, and I have a pretty big ego, with all like my wife will, she wouldn't let me get away with saying that I don't.
No, you don't.
But
it's one of them lower Bucks County things. It's good.
But I say confidence, she says ego, but
a little bit of both.
Yeah, but you have to be hard on yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to say, hey, if I'm fucking this up, let's put the brakes on and let's correct it.
Fix it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I see a lot of other people in this field make those mistakes. They don't want to take that deep hard look in the mirror, and they don't want to correct things. They don't want to make it look like they fucked up somewhere.
Yeah.
For us, I had no other choice, because it's either correct some of these issues or you go under, you know? And for us, the issues that I was making were, I was running my gym like other gyms.
Yeah.
Because that was the basis I had to go off of. And now all the other gyms are trying to run their gyms like us.
Right.
So it's what I started to learn through this process and how you treat people. And when people come in and sign up, I don't want them to feel like, like they're buying a car.
Right.
I don't want them to go through that bullshit. So what we started to do was we started to cut out like certain contract forms and all this other stuff that went with it. When you come in, we wanted you to feel like you're doing something good for yourself, not like, holy shit, am I, strapping myself to a stone that's getting ready to get pushed off a bridge, You
turn it into an experience.
Exactly.
And I tell people all the time, that's so good, dude, and I hope you guys caught that. That's so important when people come in to do anything. When you're a business person, you're an entrepreneur, and you're winning business, the experience today is more important than anything. So that's brilliant. Okay,
yeah. So and that was a huge part of it. So the experience of coming in. Of course, we like people to look around and see the gym.
It's an awesome place. By the way, I'm going to pan before we finish the video here for those for the YouTube watchers. I'm going to pan around so you can see the octagons right behind Erik over here. You got this massive amount of mat. I think you said one of the largest matted areas in the country, probably.
Well, definitely in Pennsylvania, we've got a decent amount of mat space. And so when people come in, visually, I don't want them to feel like they're in like a different, just another gym.
Right.
Not only that is a lot of the times, our kids' classes are huge. All of our classes are pretty big. Our parents are sitting in our lobby most of the time. I want them to feel good. I want them to feel at home being here as well. But really, that whole sign up process and when people come in, shaking everyone's hands. And I would say one of the biggest things that we do differently than other martial arts gyms, because I've seen this every gym I go to pretty much. When you walk into a martial arts gym or you're signed up, you've got the black belt there.
Right.
And everyone sits around and all of a sudden there's like this Jedi mindfuck thing happens. And now it's like all of a sudden the student is working for the instructor.
Right.
Like these instructors, they run their schools, like all of a sudden, the students are bowing down to them and it's wild. Mm-hmm. I make sure that I tell everyone here, like, I work for you guys.
Right.
You guys need to see something, you want to do something or whatever. Like, don't get it twisted. Yeah, I've been doing this stuff a very long time. I know what I'm doing and all that other stuff, but I'm Erik. You can call me coach if you want, right?
Yeah.
But I work for you guys. It's my job to make sure, your goals are my goals when you come in here. I don't impose my goals on you. Whatever your goals are, you want to get in better shape or you want to become a better martial artist, you want to understand self-defense, whatever it is, you want more confidence. Like, your goals are my goals. So I make sure I constantly tell them that because I'm not Darth Vader. I don't want to walk around in some imperial fortress somewhere where everyone's like, kiss the ring and stuff. Like, I just don't do that.
Right.
I feel weird like that. So that's one of the big things we do differently here as well. And we're legit training. And, I've been doing this stuff a very long time. We're all accredited in everything we do. Across the board. But when people come in here, I always tell people we run this place like a wrestling room, not a martial arts gym. And wrestling rooms are just nuts. They're laid back. All we do is make fun of each other. We crack jokes all the time. We keep it light. But we train hard as well too. So that's kind of like one of the main focal points of how I like to do things here. Which is
so essentially you create a really not only a good community and a good experience for people when they come in to buy and enroll, but then you create a really dynamic culture once people are here too.
We try, and
or at least something that people love.
And that trickles down as well too. The important thing is, we kind of reached a point where things were getting like a little too cliquey in here with some groups and all that. So all that stuff had to be broken up.
That comes with growing pains, I'm sure.
And some more life experiences and things like that. So we want everyone to feel great when they come in here. We want everyone to feel part of this. And like I said, we'll have athletes walk in the door and they're used to these rooms. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
But if you're not used to this culture and fighting and the self-defense thing and all this stuff, it can be very intimidating walking into a place like this. I mean, extremely intimidating. We have people that walk in the door all the time and they're almost ready to like turn around and walk out. We're like, no, come on in. No, we're cool. We're a bunch of goofballs, And so you have to make people feel at home, and you have to make people feel like they're invested in this place as well. I always tell people it's your gym now. As soon as they sign up, I'm like, hey, they're like, oh, well, what class is gonna take? I'm like, all of them. I go, it's your gym now.
Awesome.
Make yourself at home. And that's when people are invested as well into what you're doing. they're going to take better care of the place. They're going to want their friends and family here as well, and things like that.
So they feel part of it, which is all about the culture that you create. I've studied tons of successful entrepreneurs, and I've watched organizations grow, and I've watched them fail, and I've watched them, all types of different things. So one commonality that I've seen that always stands the test of time is that every single successful organization has some kind of culture that is the glue to the whole organization every single time. And you guys done obviously a great job because just watching how you guys lift each other up just through social media at times is it always makes me like, man, I got to just come down and get a membership, even though I live a little far, but I don't care. I just want to be a part of it just from what I see online. So that's coming. And I want to bring my son too.
Please do. We have fun, and you have to have fun in these types of things because a lot of times
it balances out the intensity, probably, right?
Because we're talking about like a lot of serious stuff in here.
Sure.
We're teaching people how to take out other people as quickly and as efficiently as possible.
Yeah. Because in a challenging time, we're in a challenging time, and we can say it. It's a challenging time. It's a scary time. There's a lot of dynamics that are going on in the world right now with all kinds of different things, and people need to be prepared, and they have to be able to defend themselves. So you guys, and I love that you guys really address that because people are afraid to talk about it, and you can't be if you want to be, prepared and be able to take care of yourself, your family, and
I scream it from the rooftops.
I really do.
I 100% believe in what we do here, and I believe in all of the martial arts gyms across the board. You know, I know a ton of great martial arts gym owners locally, around the country, around the world. And for the most part, all of them are just fantastic people. They're the types of people you want to have in your community. And the people that go to these gyms, a lot of times, you should be lucky to have them in your community because there are people that are being proactive about not only their own self-defense and safety, but really as a community as a whole. Because if you can take care of yourself, then I don't have to worry about taking care of you. I can take care of someone else. So we all become stronger piece by piece in our communities, and we can keep an eye on each other.
Stay healthy.
Yes, stay healthy. So everyone's safer by you making yourself safer. Everyone as a whole is safer because of it, which is very important.
That's awesome. Well, so one final question, then I'm going to get you to tell everybody how they can get in touch with you. So there are a good number of people from the Philadelphia region that are listening, but also and Bucks County and where we're all from. But last question for you: where do you see yourself going? Right? Because right now you guys are busy, which was so cool to hear. A lot of people in this industry of the fitness industry, which I think you kind of fall in there. Totally. It's a crazy time because governors are telling people when they can and can't work, how many people they can and can't have in their facility, if they're not even be open anymore, all these different things. And you guys are as busy as you're allowed to be, which is awesome. You couldn't be any busier, which is a great thing. But so where do you see yourself going? And this is a question I want you. Why do you feel, because I know you feel this, or at least I think you do, that everybody should, at least have some kind of training in the martial arts / fighting world, self-defense world?
So, well, we're developing some new programs here, and we've started kids MMA programs, which ironically only started because of COVID. And it's been one of the best things we've done. Our kids MMA program, we're not teaching kids to be bullies or anything like that, but is by far the most comprehensive kids self-defense program you will ever see anywhere. Ever. Like from head to toe. And I've studied all these. It is absolutely amazing. And it's safe for these kids as well. So that's something we want to keep expanding on. Our general MMA programs as well, which are really self-defense programs. We have fighters that fight, and we work with them, and they do all their other stuff on the side and everything like that. So our MMA programs are hitting the next level, so we're going to keep running with those. Even more importantly, our NPR tactical program is getting ready to kick off, and that's something we're extremely excited about because that is just general self-defense for everyone. We're going to have levels to that as well, so you're going to deal with things like, Someone puts a gun up to you, puts a knife up to you. It's not going to be any flashy, cute stuff. It's going to be, your meat and potatoes, things that'll help keep you alive.
Right.
But general awareness in every situation, de-escalation for a lot of situations as well.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah.
We'll do things like multiple attackers and all kinds of stuff.
Nice.
But in everything that we teach here, we're high level mixed martial artists. We literally train and fight and compete around the world. We do all that stuff. So everything you kind of learn from us, nothing's foo-foo. This is stuff that works on other Olympic athletes and things like that as well. The second part of the question,
yeah, that's the one I'm excited to hear.
Yeah. So,
and you could be as open as you want about this, because I have a similar feeling, I think, to what you do, but I'm like...
Well, so where are you going?
Yeah.
What do
you tell me. You're the expert. I'm just like, I think everybody should have some kind of formal, at least some
1,000%.
kind of formal training to be able to have some kind of self-defense and be able to fend for themselves.
Absolutely, right? Because there's a few things that happen. Number one, when you are in self-defense programs, typically you learn to be a little bit more aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
So you're staying a little bit more alert. Right, so we're training our nervous system and other things and other sensory, parts of, our bodies to constantly be a little bit more aware, because when you're out here training, you've got people all the way around you, so, always moving around, and we're just preparing for stuff like that. So you're going to gain a lot through self-defense, just as far as general awareness, which can keep you safe, keep you out of trouble as far as those things go. Also, with a sport like jiu-jitsu, and jiu-jitsu is one of the few sports, judo, anything with kind of chokeholds and submissions, jiu-jitsu is extremely unique compared to all of the other martial arts. The lessons that you learn in jiu-jitsu, you can't replicate in karate, you can't replicate even in wrestling and through like a lot of other sports.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, like, for example, if I just came and put you in a rear naked choke right now, a chokehold.
Right.
Your heart rate goes boof, boof, boom, boom. You go unconscious quicker.
Right.
So what happens is, through months and months of repetitive training, being in those chokeholds tons of times, you learn how to lower your heart rate in these types of situations. That's why this stuff's so important for police officers to come in and take as well. So what happens is, when you're in these trying times, you're in these intense situations, you learn how to relax, you learn how to think through the situations, you learn how to be technical, you learn how to not to overreact, you learn how to not be emotional in these situations. So we'll have people that will come in off the streets day one, they're going live out here. And they're just tapping out left and right, tapping like a typewriter, and they're kind of freaking out a little bit. And then you'll see them over time of coming in, they start to relax, they start to chill, they start to become more comfortable in these intense, high-stress situations.
Right.
And that's stuff that you cannot teach unless you're doing it. One of my instructors, he has a great little story, which I stole off of when I use all the time. He's a very smart guy, very smarter than I am. But
you always surround yourself with good people. It's another key to wealth, by the way, being successful.
I'm a fucking idiot. I surround myself by smart people everywhere, in all
smartest
phases.
thing to do is surround yourself.
My team is.
That means you're smarter than you say you are, because if you do that, you're smart enough to do it.
But he always tells you, like, look, I can tell you how to ride a bike. I can tell you every step on how to ride a bike. We pick the bike up.
Right.
We grab a part of the handle, we put our foot on the pedal, we get on the seat, and we start to pedal, right? That doesn't mean you're not how to ride a damn bike.
That's right.
You have to get on that bike. You got to fall off that bike. You got to pick yourself up, get
just
back
like running
on
to the gym, like you said earlier.
Just like going to the gym.
Yeah.
So I use that story a lot with my kids that are in here. That want to quit sometimes because it's tough. It's challenging. This isn't supposed to be easy. We're not making cupcakes in here. So I tell them, like, look, I could teach you how to ride a bike. I can tell you how to ride a bike. But you're not going to know how to ride a bike unless you get up and do it.
Yeah.
And I tell the kids, I'm like, how many times have you fallen off your bikes? And they're like, oh yeah, all the time, I'm like, but you kept getting back on that bike and riding. Yep. And I bet you can tell me how to ride a bike now too because of you doing it. Yep. But I need to get on that bike and learn how to do it myself.
Experiential learning.
Yeah, you can't beat it. So that's what this stuff offers.
Yeah.
And
I love the point that you made. I think is so important because even just sitting here and you saying, and I'm sure the listeners felt the same thing I did when you say, if I put you in a rear naked choke right now, and just that response right there, will get you going. Just the thought of it.
Yeah.
And anybody that's never been in that situation before, because I wrestled a little bit when I was younger, until baseball took over my whole life. And even just those type of things, like certain moves, you know, you had to.
Wrestling's phenomenal for that as well too. You know, the wrestling just you look at people that wrestle and they usually have such just phenomenal character because that is just the grind of the sport. Yeah. And that's what you want to do with your kids. You want to get them in these kind of sports and these activities that aren't easy. Right. And challenge them because sports are supposed to be fun and those things as well, right? But they're also supposed to be character building activities. And if your sport doesn't help you build a character, then what are you doing? Yeah. You know, like, what's the point? Yeah. Why even do it?
That's why we need to have the winners and you need to have losers because that's where the winners win big is from the losses that they have. That's where they learn the most. I think one of the biggest challenges in our country is participation trophies, bro. Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just like, I get it. I have kids. I don't want them to feel bad, but at the same time, I want them to evolve from the challenging experiences and know how to handle it more. You know,
you know, and one thing, look, and parents want to be great parents and they never want their kids to be upset. Right. Little Timmy doesn't get a trophy. Yeah, he's bummed out about it. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. You know, get him in another sport too. Get him playing something else. Like kids have short memories.
But that turns them on too. Yeah. That's where the competitive spirit comes out that I think people need to survive because the problem is when they hit real life and if they always were rewarded for no matter what they did and then real life punches them in the mouth and they have no idea how to handle it and they got to get on, you know, antidepressant or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of things. So
challenging yourself and here's another thing as well too. Where life is going to challenge you anyways. Yeah. Whether you want it to or not.
That's right.
You know, we're basically
staying calm.
We're basically floating around in an ocean. Some days are calm seas. Some days, you know, you're getting smashed by the waves.
That's right.
You have no option. We're floating around, right? But if you can teach a kid to purposefully challenge themselves every once in a while with like, hey, why don't you enter this tournament? Or why don't you go against this big kid over here? Why don't you do this? So we're teaching them now to look at challenges more like an exercise that'll get themselves better. Now when the waves are crashing down on them and they're in those torrential storms, they're gonna handle it better. They're gonna look at it like a conquerable obstacle in their way. Rather than just accepting waves crashing down on them. You know, which is the last thing we want. We want leaders in this world, not a bunch of followers. That's the problem we have right now is leaders, you're screaming from the rooftop like, come on, we can all do this, you know? Too many people, though, are too comfortable sitting around and just kind of, you know, screwing off all day and not challenging themselves. If you're not challenging yourself, it's kind of, I don't know, like, what are you doing, you know?
And that's the difference between life with an I and life with a Y.
Yeah,
you know? I love that. So Erik, how can people, first of all, how can people get in touch with you personally? Like, how can people follow you on social so they can kind of see? Because that's what I've been doing. So what's the best way to follow you and your business on, say, Facebook and Instagram? Very
cool. So you can find me on Instagram, Erik, ERIK _Purcell, PURCELL. You follow NPR Endurance. You can go right to our website. There's links to pretty much everything.
Is that NPRendurance.com?
Yes, NPRendurance.com.
Okay.
Like Michael Paul Robert Endurance.
Right over your head.
Right over your head. Yep. So therefore, you can pretty much find me anywhere. You know, and on different social media platforms, I'm kind of a little different. You know, Instagram, I'm mostly fun pictures and stuff like that. Sure. I'm a little bit more hardcore on Facebook. Okay. Yeah, and then Twitter's a complete dumpster fire. You know? It's a complete mess, right? But like I said, you know, I stand by what I believe in. I don't say things that are politically correct. I cut out all the bullshit. I'm not here to bullshit people. Yep. Take it or leave it. I hope you take it. I hope you love being part of the message and everything like that as well.
But either way, learn from it. That's the thing. We're not all going to agree on everything. Yeah. But the best part is, and that's I think where we need to get in this country is get back to where we have disagreements with people and not hate each other for it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Just have good dialogue.
If we look at people's intentions, that will take us a lot further in life.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like you may not, whether you're Republican or Democrat, most people want to have a better life for themselves, for their friends, and for their family. Yeah. And so you might not like what someone's doing online or this and that, but you know, you look at their intentions. What's the message they're putting out. Why are they putting it out? They're putting it out because maybe they do want a better life for everyone. You may not agree with that message, but
or the path to get there could be different, and they might think it's going to work, but in practicality, versus theory, completely different. It's like to give a person a fish, feed them for a day, teach them to fish, feed them for a lifetime.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love that. So NPR Endurance, I love that. And then
Erik Purcell, you can find me pretty much everywhere.
Yeah. When do you fight next? Are you fighting?
Well,
like when are you competing? I guess
so they
not a lot of contests.
A lot of the times when we fight, we fight internationally, overseas, and that's not happening anytime soon. They just canceled our world championships this year for combat sambo. So I'm not sure where they were supposed to be this year because I just didn't look.
Right.
But they just made sambo an Olympic sport.
Oh wow!
So there was a potential that we would have possibly been in the Olympics for Japan, but looks like we may be in like 4 years from now as well. So I won't be competing 4 years from now. I'm going to be 40 something, but realistically I'll probably be one of the USA team coaches as well.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, so we'll have some athletes from here probably on there.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to keep watching you guys grow, and we'll thanks for being on the show, dude, for sure. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
And what I'm going to do for you YouTubers real quick is I'm just going to pan around real quick and show you, because this place is awesome. So if you ever want to find a cool martial arts gym, this is your jam here. Let me just show you guys this real quick. This is obviously the octagon here. Let me zoom this out a little more. Here's our octagon here, and you got all your mat space. This is huge over here.
Yeah, boxing ring in the back corner.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you got the boxing ring through the corner there. That's all your mat space all the way back there with some bags right in there. And then you got, what's this? Your fitness room here. Bunch of cool stuff. So there you go. That's nice sign there too. So Erik, well, thanks for having me, bro. Much appreciated.
Hey, thank you guys.
You're welcome.